as a man, do you feel as though it takes any sort of... I am also a man, and I can understand the reasoning behind that, but what gives us really any say in what women would decide to do with a process that is entirely and, well, completely done by a woman's body?
Well, would you agree that it takes a man and a woman to make a baby?
In most cases. There have been significant studies, though. In fact, they might not even need us anymore.
I mean, without going into like a detail about, because I've heard like, well,
it is possible.
It takes a man and a woman to make a baby. That's how God made it. And does a woman have a right to choose? Depending on what that choice is, yes. I have a right to choose, you have a right to choose, but so often I'm amazed that, well, not amazed, but those who say I support a woman's right to choose or I'm pro-choice, they never finish the sentence. They never say I support a woman's right to choose. What's she choosing? I'm pro-choice. What's the choice?
Well, typically it's about her reproductive rights, which...
Well, reproductive rights is really a euphemism for murder. That's all it is.
How so?
Just like, well, the Nazis had their euphemisms for murder, right? They had their euphemisms. We color these things in euphemisms to make it more palatable, more acceptable. People don't want to say, well, more people are saying this, I've heard them, but people don't want to say, I support a woman's right to murder her baby. I'm pro-murder or pro-choice to commit murder. That doesn't sound as nice as pro-choice.
Well,
it doesn't.
Typically that would apply to an unborn child, which is just that, unborn, as in not alive.
They're alive.
Doesn't the Bible state that life begins at first breath?
No. Here, I want you to check out what abortionists have to say about this, if you're open-minded. You don't have to read this now. You're welcome to.
Well, the thing I would like to.
Well, you don't have to read it now. You can read it. I'll just show you real quick. This is what abortionists.
Yes.
Abortionists and abortion supporters say about this. Their own words. You can look those up to verify them.
I don't. Let me see. Okay, I'd like to read some of this.
Yeah, read that.
Human development begins at fertilization. Okay, process during which a male gamete unites with a female gamete. Yes, called a zygote. Yes, I remember 7th grade. To accept the fact that after fertilization has taken place, new humans beings no longer matter to beings. Yes, but a full human at that point would not.
Well, realize we're not fully human, or not fully human. We're not fully developed at 1 year old, at 10 years old, even at 20 years old, because I don't think your brain's actually fully developed until like 25, I've heard.
Yes.
So I mean,
well, that's true.
So like fully human, yes, but not fully developed. People.
But at that point, a zygote is not. It's equivalent to, say, disinfecting a surface and then killing trillions of cells. If you consider cells or microorganisms like that as full beings.
You're a bunch of cells. I'm a bunch of cells. Older cells, much older.
Yes, but.
Well, I want to caution you. Don't go on just what you think. Go on what's factual or what is proven. Like a lot of people, what they do, they say, "I think this, I feel this." They say, "I think it's whatever. It's not a baby till birth," or "I think it's okay to murder people outside the womb," whatever it is. But they're saying what they think, what they feel, and they have no authority to back any of that up. They're just going off what their feelings tell them, which usually, a lot of times, it's their experience.
But legally, it's also
acceptable.
Yes.
You know why?
I agree with them. Yes.
It's not. Well, it's actually. I don't want to confuse you, but it's actually not legal. It's acceptable because it's not. You'll find the ability, I don't want to say the right, but you will not find the so-called legality to murder a child in the womb anywhere in the Constitution. I read it. The 5th and 14th Amendments say that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. No person.
But the law does not define a fetus as a person.
It actually does, because fetus is Latin for little one or little child. Yeah, our own laws even in California, you can look this up. You may know about what the case. Scott Peterson murdered his wife, Lacey Peterson. She was pregnant with their son, Connor. The very law in California, it's actually a federal law, the Unborn Victim of Violence Act, signed in 2004 by President George Bush. Another name for that law is the Unborn Victims of Violence Act, is Lacey and Connor's law. Connor was the name of their child in utero. Connor was in utero when Scott Peterson murdered his wife, Lacey. And this is in California, one of the most pro-abortion states in the whole country. Yes. And even they recognized that Connor's life had value. Was that?
What year was that?
2004, I believe.
2004.
Yeah. He just had his case was, I forget what it was. It was in the news recently, and they were re-examining his case. But that was in 2004. So if it's not a human being in the womb, why did even pro-abortion California say or value the life of Connor in the womb? Something to think about.
Well, how far along was she?
Does that really matter, though?
It does to me, personally.
Well, but does it matter factually?
Yes, I would say so.
I guess the question is why then? Like, does it matter if she was 7 months along or 10 months along or 7 weeks along?
Yes.
And so why?
Because at certain stages of development, that when a child is fully formed enough that it could successfully be born and function outside the womb on its own, then it could be able to draw breath. And as the Bible states, that life begins at breath.
Yeah, where does it state that? I don't want to go into a big thing about that, but
I have.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Well, they didn't begin their life in their mother's womb. God made them just like adults. That's not the same thing.
So God, it's what God says.
God, the vast, like all of us now, where God starts to form us in our mother's womb. Our life did not begin the same way Adam and Eve began their life. Their life was different, was unique.
In a way, Eve was formed out of Adam's rib.
Eve was, yes.
Was created. So these procedures where lesbian and LGBT couples are able to create their own children using bone marrow to DNA extraction. So, in a way, that's the true method of reproduction as intended by God.
No, not when you rebel against Him. But to answer your question about or what you're saying about that you cannot live on your own. Well, that would describe a 1-year-old, a 5-year-old. They can't live. They can't.
As in maintaining homeostasis, because an organism that is able to function on its own. Now you are right that a 1-year-old probably cannot fend for itself.
Oh no, there's no probably about it. If you leave them by themselves, they'll die. They'll die. Right?
Yes.
So if that's a criteria, why should we value a 1-year-old more than a child in the womb? Neither of them can provide for themselves.
Well, I'd say it's about homeostasis, because at that point a child can at least maintain some level of homeostasis. It can't fend for itself or anything like that. That's what parents are for.
Neither can a child in the womb.
But a child in the womb doesn't have the circulatory or cardiovascular features to function outside the womb. It can't breathe, is what I'm saying.
Should that become a reason to murder them then?
Well, they can't. Yes, because
Really?
at that point it's technically not.
So if you're in a wheelchair yourself and you couldn't breathe apart from an oxygen tank, should we murder you because you can't breathe apart from that tank?
I can't stop you.
No, but should we protect you or murder you?
Well, if I'm at the point where I couldn't breathe on my own, I don't exactly know what my options would be. But if somebody thought it best that I should end, then really, what would I be able to do about it? Hypothetically, if I had received an injury to my brain where I no longer processed or felt or experienced anything, and I couldn't really function on my own, and somebody decided that I was not worth keeping around, I wouldn't know it. I couldn't do anything about it.
Well, someone else can, though. I mean, I would care about you. You're my neighbor. I do care about you. You're my neighbor. You're my fellow man.